sensual person. I paint, I use my fingers because I like to feel it under my fingertips. My husband, at any time we go see art somewhere, he's like, don't touch it, don't touch it, you can't touch it. I'm like, but I gotta touch it. Because I feel like I have to touch it to take it in. Seeing it's not enough. I need another sense to be involved in it. I'm a very sensual person that way. And it's like, I have been living thinking that this was something that's in the way when it's not. And this is, I think, one of the most clever tricks of the enemy. He's getting us to not realize how beautiful it is to be able to experience it. We are body and soul. God knew it. Christ knew it. He came, he said that the spirit is willing, the flesh was weak. He knew what it felt like to be hungry and to have the passions of hunger and being tired. He understood the pull of the body because it has its own pull on us. But as one of the tapes that Matthew Kelly has, you can either have the body, because the body wants what it wants when it wants it, right? Mm-hmm. So you can either, I don't know, was it chocolate or what was the thing, eat the chocolate, 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 where it's saying what it wants when it wants it. But when we can understand that there is a beauty to understanding how we work, and God desires man to be involved in the redemption of man because he himself made it so. He could have saved us any way he wanted to. Right? He's God, after all. But he decided to include us. Mary and Jesus, male and female, he used us to be part of that because he wants that physical, tangible self involved. So we have this sensual faith. We don't just have a baptism. He realizes that our soul needs a grace. It needs a supernatural grace. Because you know what? It's really hard to be here. It is hard to get up every day. It is hard to deal with certain people, to deal with yourself, maybe. What are we basing our true worth and our value on? I know what I still work on is the standard that our culture is setting. That I have to be this thin, I have to look like this, I have to talk like that. And some of that's a social mores thing. We need to have manners, obviously. It's not attractive when someone eats with their mouth hanging open. But other than that, there's that the exterior is, it's really just, I think it says in the Holy Father says that it's making visible the invisible. We are experiencing God through the physical because he understands that we're wired this way. And he wants us to enter deeply into him. He wants us to communicate in love with one another. He wants us to actually physically experience him. That's why he doesn't just give us grace. He gives us a sacrament, an outward sign, symbolizing the inward grace that's being dumped into your soul when you get there. If you were here last year, how much I love confession. Yes, it was based on this misunderstanding as a young girl. For those that weren't there, I'll share. For those that were, bear with me. But I had gone to my first confession. I had gone to that just because being from an abusive home life, I didn't want to go home after school. I found out the CCD kids got to go after school down the block, at the church. And I was like, wasn't I baptized Catholic? Because that's what you do to babies. But yes, I was. So my mom said, yeah, you can go. And when I went and I had my first confession, I went in there and I told that priest, all the sins that my little 10-year-old girl committed, the fact that I had been, abused and what was going on. I just poured out everything that was going on in my life. And that was the first time we'd ever talked about it. Ever talked about it out loud. And when I opened that door of that church and I stood out there, I went, oh, it's a miracle. Because my eyes were blinded and I couldn't see, and then I was looking at the tree across the street and I was watching each of the leaves dance in the wind, and I could see 15 colors of green on every leaf, and I thought, I've got new eyes. I can see, I felt clean and fresh, and my pupils were dilated, because when you're in a dark confessional in an old Catholic church, it's dark. You come outside, pupils big, can't see. But for me, it was a miracle. And that feeling has stayed with me. So I'm one of the few parents that goes, yay, yippee kids, let's go to confession, woo! They're like, what's wrong with you? Because that feeling has stayed with me, and I think it's because God understood that we are feeling, we are tactile creatures. He wants us to experience him because he understands that that's one of the ways we can get something that's really hard to get. It's kind of like when I tell people, you know, some people think that they don't want to go to church or that they're not worthy because they don't feel it. And I heard a priest say once, Christ doesn't want, the whole premise behind Jesus, I trust in you, is you will not understand what it feels like because you've never had it before. So therefore you cannot wait till you feel it to accept it. How can you know what peace is like or what love is if you've never touched it, tasted it, seen it, had it, heard it before? So if you're waiting on it when you've never seen it before, how do you know you got it to start saying, I accept it? So half of this trust thing of ours is to say, you know what, I'm going to have to realize that the physical and the sensual part of myself, or that, the spiritual part, are separate but joined. I'm getting experience life through the two. But I need to understand and order both of them. Both of them are uniquely important. We cannot throw one out without the other. So yes, our culture is setting a standard on what the physical is, you know, how our bodies should look. But really, you don't have to feel okay on the inside before you can press forward. That's something that transforms. I don't know about any of you guys, but the older I get, the less worried I get about stuff. Like, I really used to be worried about, you know, being a certain weight and this and that. And I still do, because every time I get pregnant, I gain 50 pounds. So that's like one of my biggest, hugest crosses is because I'm so vain, is like, I don't want to put that weight back on. And also just the sacrifice. I'm a selfish person, and I don't like to share my body. I don't like to have to not go to the bathroom and not get any sleep and be irritable and tired and all this stuff. It's just, I'm not one of those people that's like, yay, I love being pregnant. It's just the best thing in the whole world. I just love it. I just sit there go. So you know what I started doing is I started offering up that suffering for people who can't conceive. Tim Staples, met him at a conference. They had just had a miscarriage, so they were thinking that they weren't even going to come because it was just a few weeks prior. While I was there, I felt the Holy Spirit tell me to, and I thought, you know, I always argue with the Holy Spirit too. I'm like, oh, she doesn't even know me. She's going to think I'm like crazy. Hi, I'm Christina. You don't know me, but I'm supposed to give you this medal. It's a St. Gregory, or St. Gerard medal that I had Father Casey from Fathers of Mercy bless, and I'm supposed to offer up, you know, my next labor for you, because whenever I offer up labors, whoever I had a baby for usually gets pregnant. It's kind of funny. So it's not me. I mean, it's just, I really think God takes it as a gift, because he knows how much I like the whole thing is a process I'm just not happy about. And I feel like I have to do that. I owe it to God to do that, because I need to, it's one of the ways that I'm working on being grateful for all the gifts that he's given to me.